I'd love to hear bonkers in a proper rave, not just sitting in a mental hospital in East London.
Yeah. But yo, it's in context still, innit?
Yeah.
My name is John Doran and I write about music. In this series for Noisey, I've been interviewing notable figures from British popular music. From Bryan, Ferry to Johnny Marr, all of these musicians are aged between 40 and 67, having risen to prominence in the 70s, 80s and 90s. We felt it was important to end the series with a musical innovator who pushed things forward in the 21st century, which is why I'm talking to East London's most famous young son, Dizzee Rascal. Cutting his teeth as an MC in his early teens, he wasn't even out of school when he was one of the small group of rappers and producers responsible for the birth of grime. Just 10 years ago, he released the genre-defining Boy in the Corner, which deservedly won him the Mercury Prize. But since then, he has turned his attention almost effortlessly toward the pop charts. With 5 number ones under his belt, I get the feeling he's still only just warming up, and his eyes are trained squarely on an international crown.
Today is the 10th out of a series of 10 of British Masters, and in a way, we've saved the best one to last. I'd like to say hello to Dizzee Rascal.
Yes, sir.
How are you doing, sir?
I'm alright, mate.
How much of the first ever rhyme that you wrote can you remember?
Oh, one of the first ones, like Spider-Man, I'm out to kill, fuck with me, your blood will spill. I remember I wrote that when I was like 13 or something. That was one of the first ones. But one of the first serious ones I wrote was Lyrical Tank. Boxing MC like my name was Frank. Going on dirty, going on stank. Robbing MC like Barclays Bank. That's where the name Dirty Stank came from. And that was like, when I was on the underground, that was like one of my biggest lyrics. If I ever said that, that's when people would be jumping up and down. There might be a gunshot in the air, like it's just all that type of shit. Like would just go crazy. A lot of dodgy raves though. Yeah, it was quite edgy.
I mean, did you used to get kind of nervous? I mean, like in your mid-teens, it must have been kind of quite worrying.
It was
doing
tense.
some of that.
It was tense.
When you look back at YouTube clips of stuff like the Sidewinder raves or, you know, the kind of freestyle like you're having with Crazy Titch and stuff like that, how much of the you now do you recognise in that 16-year-old kid?
Some of it I just think is all just stupid, man, like just looking back on it, but I wouldn't change none of it. It's just like really competitive time. And especially like the thing with Titch, with Titch it was a funny one because people see it now, he's in jail for murder now, he's there for life and that, and people just see us as these kind of mortal enemies. But the reason I knew Titch in the first place because when I was younger, me and his cousin were from the same estate, we were tight, we used to run around the estate just up to stuff. And he come out of jail, his brother had some situation with Wiley, so I was the automatic thing to come and him get involved and start with me. But after that argument, like the next day, like we were together, linked up, but we're in Hackney, had an argument about, but in private between a few of us, let it go. Then I'd see him again, whatever, another few months later after we'd been on radio and said a load more, and then see him again and he'll say like, you did all right, that one was good. You know what I mean? Because really there was that thing there of like really, we know it's like almost family, like the kind of way I grew up in, we know each other too well. People just seeing what they see on the internet now, but I know it for what it is. Some of it's petty, like I was saying, but it's so, the edge is a lot less now. I prefer that. I like being in Popland. It's just easy and that, but I like being in rock. I just like the genre. All that other stuff is a bit petty and there's a lot of unnecessary shit happened back then.
One of the first ever songs I heard by you, I guess it must have been in about 2003, was Too Far, which I find ironic now listening back to it, because you say like, you know, Queen Elizabeth II doesn't know me or whatever. I was wondering, did this ever come up in conversation when you were backstage with a couple of her grandkids?
It was at Hyde Park.
All right, okay.
And a friend, someone I knew who was a club promoter at the time, he came around, yeah, Harry wants to meet you. I said, who's like, what? Who? Who's Harry? Like, and they said, Prince Harry. Oh shit, what? Like, what? He's like, so he came round and, oh, right, what's going on? Like, I could tell he's a cheeky bastard, isn't it? He's like, he's cheeky. So what did he say to me? He goes, so how long you going on for? I said, I don't know, I'm on for like an hour. I said, oh, I've got to listen to you for an hour? Or some shit like that. I said, cheek. I said, you know what? If you weren't fucking real, I'd punch in your face. And we all laughed, it was all great. Like he's just a cheeky chappy, innit?
So, it's 2013, you've got 5 number ones under your belt, you've got a Mercury under your belt, an Ivor Novello and a Brit. You're pretty much in a position to clean up now, aren't you?
Oh yeah, I hope so, yeah.
How confident are you that the fifth is going to make you the most famous kind of solo performer in the UK?
I don't know. I think the quality of the music there and the range, and I think I've achieved everything I wanted to do as far as making the body of work. But just the way the music industry is now, it's even changed from when I put my last album out. So I'm working in a different world. So I don't even know how it's gonna go, honestly.
It is, to my mind, a continuation of the last album though. It's just bigger and bolder, isn't it?
Right.
But it's thrusting you out more into the pop world.
Right, definitely. And it was made differently, because that was still made in England, and just with everything running. With this one, the process was different. Like waking up in LA, where the majority was done, waking up to sunshine, and I've never made an album there. I've never really made a song there.
And of course, you've been living part-time in Miami since then.
Back and forth, yeah.
Now, I've never been to Miami, but I'm guessing it's probably pretty similar to Stratford in some ways.
Nah, I don't know.
Well, what's it like? What's it like, Miami?
It's a party town. It's interesting. Some of it's a bit a load of bollocks, really. Like it's just like a big circus. Going to the clubs, you've got to do whatever, the champagne sparklers, turn the music off, put the Superman theme music on. I've been to a club in Houston even, and there's a girl on a rubber dinghy in a boat, and they're pulling her across over to a table whose birthday or wherever, I think someone's birthday. Yeah. She's holding the bottles. Like, it's a load of bollocks. It's a circus.
Well, you talked about Houston. I've got to say that, like, one of my favourite tracks on the album is H-Town.
Right.
And, you know, I really love the sound on that. I mean, there's some members of Southern hip-hop royalty on that, Bun B, Trade the Truth. How did you get hooked up with those guys?
With Bun, that's like a friend. When I go to America, I always make sure I go Houston, or he'll come Miami or whatever, and say, oh, we'll go to New York. Like, that's like my friend there, help me get set up there. And then Trey, I met him in the parking lot, the car park in Houston. He was holding it down, basically. He's got a bit of a double life.
Keeping it true, in the home of the brave. Chilling with the OG, UGK. Rolling up swishers, and I smoke till I faint. Draped up whilst hitting them switches in the car, all covered in candy paint.
It's become kind of quite cool to sort of like talk about, you know, the Houston sound, stuff like that over the last few years. But I know that you've been into that kind of style of music for ages. How did you first get into stuff like 3-6 Mafia and DJ Screw?
A friend of mine on my estate, he was older, he's the one who introduced me to down south hip hop. Like, I never really knew nothing about it. He used to have the CDs, the old Cash Money CDs, the Master P. And I remember at first, I didn't really like the music because it was like the 808s and all that thing. I was into like West Coast stuff, and the way this music was made, it was crazy. And the accents, everything was all different. It was quite singy, and especially with the Cash Money stuff. And Master P, it sounded like noise to me. But I'd never forget the album covers, the CD covers look crazy to me. I'd never seen anything like it, with the bling writing, and then with the helicopters, and just it would look like a movie, and I was like, rah. Then eventually I got into it, I kind of understood it. And then there was something about it that made it, when I started making beats, I kind of based it on that. So if I'd ever listened to any of that stuff, I would never have made Boy in the Corner, because I wasn't like a classically trained musician. But put me in front of a keyboard with some samples laid out in it, and I'll whip up a beat. Like, I made I Love You in about, I don't know, 20 minutes. Like, because kind of following the format of what I heard those guys doing.
Yo, some bitch, no, keep calling my phone, don't leave me alone. Just moan and groan, keep ringing me at home. These days I don't answer my phone.
That boy's some bitch, you know, all up in my hair. Thinks that I care, following me here, following me there. These days I can't go nowhere.
So you're not doing that much production anymore yourself, are you?
Nah.
Are you done with it for good? And
It's just, I don't know, it's just trying different things. People don't understand about those first 3 albums. That's where I was really in, like, making the beats. But it's like, honestly, I felt like I rinsed it as far as not being a classically trained musician in that sense, and just rinsing out, I'm gonna make a beat and keep rinsing. And it got to the point I was getting to the studio, I can only do so much. I'm limited in that way. And then it's just about it's probably just easier to get with someone who's got a wicked beat and just jump on it and do what I do. Something like I Don't Need a Reason and Spend Some Money, which was done with Jean-Baptiste and all that.
Yeah.
That's like, if I sat down to produce, that's the type of thing I'd hope to produce anyway.
All I do is flex, I don't need a reason. All I want is sex, I don't need a reason. Fly out on a jet, I don't need a reason. Every day's a never-ending summer season.
now, There's one thing working with people like Armand van Helden and Calvin Harris and even Shakira,
Right.
but it's another thing working with Robbie Williams, isn't it?
Right. Apparently, yeah. But honestly, do you know what happened? You know, it was sent to Example first.
Yeah.
An Example is not really a singer. He's getting away with it, and he's got an exciting show, and he's a smart dude. But he got it, and then he just admitted, like, I've recorded it, but it just don't sound right. He couldn't get the thing. So actually, Robbie came after that. His name just came up, I think, in a meeting with my manager and someone else. And then they came back to me, like, well, Robbie Williams might be. I thought, yeah, right. I didn't understand about Robbie Williams, to some people, ain't cool. I just know just Robbie Williams is what the dude with the £80 million deal.
Yeah.
That Robbie Williams. I just remember that. When anyone mixed views of him, you can't dismiss how big he is and of the UK.
No, of course not.
One of the biggest UK artists ever. And if he's willing to do a track with me, I'm gonna do it. You know what I mean?
Where's the love though? Nobody cares about that. Where's the club? Where's the drugs though? Front row, follow the flow, mega upload. For the adrenaline rush, who's the mark though? I don't know, no.
Something that really interests me is like, it looks like you're taking on the really cool American blueprint of the way that, you know, you get the kind of really big tunes onto the album and you get the dirtier stuff onto the mixtapes.
Right,
Is that your kind of game plan now?
It just makes sense, because not that it's throwaway, some of the harder stuff, but people don't really buy it. They just kind of just judge it. Yeah, that's good. You're good, you are. And then, that's that, yeah. So that's why when people talk moan about, you don't make grime and all that, so well, I do, but some people got their other ideas about what grime is at this point still as well. I try not to get too caught up in genres. I just care about textures and what music does to people.
You can't smoke 100,000 likes on Facebook, can you? You can't eat it, you know what I mean?
Nah, yeah, exactly.
You can't put them in the bank or
whatever.
On H-Sound, you say that you're not interested in having the purple drink. And I know I read an interview with you, I think it might have been about 2 or 3 years ago, and you were like, I'm going to give up alcohol, I'm going to stop smoking weed, and I've taken up boxing.
Do you know, I say that every few months anyway.
Yeah. But it never happens.
What my problem has always been is saying stuff in interviews. Sometimes you sit there and you think that the interviewer is your shrink or your mate, and you just say stuff and forgetting that it's get taken so, like it's written in stone. And it's like, that's how I felt at that point. Like, I don't want to smoke, I'm not going to drink, smoke, or do nothing this month.
Did you see Gucci Mane's meltdown on Twitter?
Kind of, but I think that's down to other stuff as well, man. Basically, there's a lot of people dealing with certain issues that they should get professional help for, and all they're really doing is going out and on more substances, overworking, and just not dealing with their problems. So maybe that's what that was really about. And I don't know, it's easy to put it to the substance, innit, or the drink.
So you're not boxing just yet then?
No, I've just started getting training. Again, that's another one of my hobbies, but sometimes you go overboard with that. It's another drug, because you go with it. I'm being really candid in this interview because it seems like I've started now, so fuck it. So you can basically, you get in the gym and you get on that wave. So instead of whatever, just have a puff every now and then, you just go in the gym and start working out like a nutter. Like you're a professional fighter. And what happens, you be out in the street and you might not punch someone in the face because you're all amped up for no reason, because you're just training too much. So that's no good either sometimes, basically. So it's just finding that balance.
Yeah. Given the postcode that you were born in, I'm guessing, I don't want to state the obvious, but I'm going to. I'm guessing it must have been a big deal for you to appear in the Olympic opening ceremony. How was that for you? I mean, it was a pretty spectacular event for starters, right?
Yeah, it was amazing. What's crazy about it, after I accepted it and all that, and I knew what the whole thing was about, kind of vaguely. So then we did our rehearsals, which was in Stratford at the time, but our segment was sectioned off. So we was just doing that. So it wasn't until I went to the dress rehearsals in the stadium that they had. I think I had 4 or 5 dress rehearsals with an audience, where I got to see the overall thing that they were doing. And I nearly cried, because I thought, wow, like they are seriously telling the story of Britain from the start, pretty much, and I've got a place in it. They're telling all the British history in one big fucking whatever presentation, and I'm part of it. And so it was crazy for me, like I said, because I grew up there. So I made sure I got the jacket, and then that's the jacket I've used on on my album cover. It's got the E3, again, that's my postcode. I was raised in, and that's a fact. And I hung around Stratford and all that when I was younger, and I've got history there and all that. So there was nothing even there when I was a kid like that. There was no massive stadium. Like, the biggest stadium I could think of in the area was Mile End Stadium. And I think the biggest thing, other than the athletics, school athletics that happened there was a one-off concert that Blur did. And I remember I couldn't get in, but I could hear it from my bedroom.
That must have been pretty annoying.
Yeah, they're tight with it, yeah. But yeah, so it was amazing to do that, man.
And now, if it's all right, I'd really, because I think this is the first 12-inch I ever bought by you. If you could sign that for me, that would be great. Cheers.
Big up.
Oh, cheers for that.
There you go.
Thanks, man.
Ah, remember that phone?
Cheers.
No, seriously, remember them Nokias there?
I thought you were talking to a trainer when I first saw that. It's a ridiculous thing to think, but I was like, what the fuck's going on there?
Ass, titties, ass and titties.